Whalefall, Gone and Forgotten, Episode 4, The Birdcage. Field Notes, File 4. I've been in Lake Fargo for just over a week now. Finally all moved in, I guess. It's been interesting. Nothing really happens here, dead body notwithstanding, obviously. I guess I'm just still adjusting to the quiet. Anyway, I went out into town again today. I had no idea what I'd find in this little place, but an antique store was definitely not it. It was called Lavender's Antiques. It's one of the oldest buildings in town, judging by the architecture, and it shares a little strip with 3 other businesses. Honestly, I just stopped inside to look around, maybe get a hat or a brooch or something. Of course, I was barely into the first booth when I found this! Same manila folder and everything. This one is, oily? It smells weird, too. It's, The Birdcage by Lavender Mullins. I don't really want to read it right now, but... Tick, tick, tick goes the winding gears and tapping feet. Little metal trifles and whirring lungs that pump no air and sing no song but one I can feel behind my eyes presses on all the same. There is no song because there is no bird. There is only the cage. A small but ornate bird cage, barely a foot tall, the kind you use to decorate with candles and old flowers. Its thin metal is sharp and swirling. Your hands long to touch it, but fear the bite of its edges, so you settle for calling it pretty. It sings to me from the corner of my shop. I sell antiques, but I don't think about them much anymore. They don't sing to me like the birdcage does. But of course there is no bird, so it cannot sing to me in tunes so familiar and awful. The day it was brought in, I think it was brought in, at least. It was sitting on the checkout counter. I had just been organizing a table in the back, so I didn't see who or what brought it in. I simply returned to the counter to get some tags and a pen, and there it was. At the time, I had assumed it came from one of the many cramped corners of the shop. There was plenty there that I had never seen before, and so it must have been found and discarded by a customer on their way out. When I picked up the little cage to find it a proper place on my shelves, I heard the faintest ping of metal hitting the floor. It was a key, the kind meant for winding clocks and old toys. It was small enough to be lost among the piles on the shop floor, but it was just sitting there neatly between my feet, perfectly framed by my Mary Janes. I looked back at the cage, and there sat a beautiful clockwork bird. Its outer carapace was a vivid orange, red filigree taking the place of feathers at its edges. Its little black eyes stared back at me unblinking. It was the most precious thing I'd ever seen, all brilliant colors and ticking gears in a creature small enough to rest in my palm. I was utterly taken with the thing, but knew I could never take it home. My husband, I think I have a husband, would never have allowed it. Instead, I took the cage to a distant corner of the shop, somewhere I was hoping it would never be found by anyone but myself. There was a hook in the ceiling, holding some sparkling thing that no one ever paid attention to. I dropped it to the floor and hung the cage in its place. Yes, much better there. I took a step back to marvel at the cage. Its copper tones were warm and inviting. They welcomed me between the bars, to snuggle up and be safe and secure while the world rages on outside. The blue of the bird's shell beckoned me to it like the open sky. My foot crunched over broken glass as I made my way back to the counter. Time in my shop seemed to pass strangely after that. I could stand at the counter for hours, but only minutes would pass. I would spend a few minutes reorganizing a table and find the sun already setting. All the while I'd hum to myself a song I swear I'd heard before but could not place. It was calm and soothing, never speeding up too much. It was soft and serene, but I couldn't for the life of me put a name to it. I was at the checkout counter when I first heard it, the tune I'd been humming all day without a name or words. I followed it like a hound, lingering in booths and around tables until I caught the tune again. It was the cage, of course it was. It hung there in a beam of sunlight that reached impossibly far. The glittering yellow of the bird drew my eye and would not let it go. The song came from the bird, the little key winding in its back until the song was over. Then it stopped, falling out of the bars and landing again at my feet. I stared at the bird, humming the song along with it, the melody bubbling from within me and settling on my tongue like a film. My dreams were strange that night, I'm certain of it. I cannot recall them with any real clarity, only small flashes of things. There were gears crunching and grinding away at bone and gristle. I don't remember if it was mine, just that I was holding onto a warm copper bar, and a familiar song was playing outside, like a little songbird just out of sight. The next morning I found myself speeding to the shop on my bike. I usually take the rocky path slowly, but I was breathless and sweaty upon my arrival, longing for cold water and air conditioning. I set my coat and purse down, and without a second thought I made for the back corner and my birdcage. It hung there just as I'd left it, the green metal of the bird flashing, its beak open and ready to sing. Yes, that was right. Of course it wanted to sing. I could feel the cool metal of the clock key in my hand. Did I ever put it down yesterday? Did I ever pick it up? No matter now, I suppose. The bird wanted to sing, and I held the key to allowing it to do so. I reached for the little door, which seemed to spring open with my touch, and down to the shining violet of the bird's back. It was then that I realized the bird was already singing. When had it begun to sing and tick and whir like a living thing? There was no key in my hand, and the door was not open. But there, the cage sat, swinging empty in the breeze that shouldn't be there. The bird song piping away on the dusty shop air. No, not swinging. I was swaying with the song. The cage was stationary. Of course, it was stationary. It cannot sing while sitting on the checkout counter. There was no song, of course there was no song. There was no bird. But that did not stop my swaying and humming to the tune I knew so well. I stared into the cage, into the little black eyes that weren't there, the song heavy on my tongue and teeth. My mouth tasted like metal, and my feet were bleeding. I was sitting in my living room on the sofa. At least I think I have a sofa. The TV was on and the sun was low. I think we were watching the cooking channel. Something with people rushing around the room holding utensils and ingredients. My husband, Jerry? Michael? Someone was sitting in a large armchair that seemed to take up the room. He made balking, squawking noises that sounded like a creature choking on a plastic soda ring. The dinner I'd made sat cold in his lap, half eaten and turned to crumbs in his beard. My own plate sat cold as well. I could not take a bite as all I could taste was metal and oil. My jaw clicked like a ratchet strap. The neighbor kept banging on the walls, something about keeping the noise down. People on the TV were running around again, making some mocking attempt at cooking. I could no longer hear my neighbor over the song. It filled my ears like the sweetest syrup and pulled on the floor around my flailing husband's chair. The plastic in his throat was making a little flitting sound, like a bird's wings, so I would not dare disturb it or cause it to fly away. My neighbor was not pounding anymore. They were singing that beautiful song with such passion I could have wept. Maybe I did weep. I do not remember having a neighbor. It was dark the next time I saw the cage. I was standing in the corner again, where I'd hung it days before. Had it been days? It was swinging in the breeze again, or was I swaying? My feet were burning. Blood pooled around them and dripped from my hands. My jaw hung open. I couldn't close it anymore. The gears were jammed, and cheek gristle clogged the pistons. I I could taste dust and oil in the air. My throat was raw and stinging. It bobbed as it tried to squeeze out a word, but I don't know what I was trying to say. The bird song was so loud in my ears, and it must have been coming from my own mouth. The cage was empty, of course. It was empty. There had never been a bird. There was never any metal feathers or black eyes or whirring insides. There never could be a song because there was never a bird. The cage hangs there and sings to me and pulls that song from me like teeth. I feel a sharp, awful fluttering in my stomach, but it too is drowned out by the song. The cage hung there absolutely still, with a red fluttering bird inside. The song rose and rose, building a tension I could feel under my skin. It is the sweetest song that cradles me in soft down feathers, so it made no sense to scream as the clicking, ticking things flew from my stomach, up my throat, and out of my stuck open mouth. Their metal feathers sliced into me, but I did not dare to make any sound that would disturb the song. No, that would not do. Instead, I allow their little bodies to pour from me, blood and oil spilling over my broken jaw and mixing with what was already on the floor. I was lying in it, I think, staring up at the cage that hung from my ceiling. I couldn't move, and could not see where the creatures I had so gorily birthed ended up. They must have flown somewhere, but I could not hear them. I couldn't hear anything. The song was gone. My throat no longer choked and bobbed and strangled around the impossible notes of that melody. I could do nothing but lie there with my jaw cracked apart, crying not from the pain, but from the loss of my song. That beautiful music, lost to me already. My fingers twitched and ached and wanted to reach up to the cage, to grab onto that music again and never let go. The cage swung gently above my head, empty as it has always been. There was no ticking, mocking thing inside, its shifting feet and sparkling eyes only making my shame that much stronger. There was nothing and everything in my ears, a raw, bleeding cotton stuffed into nowhere and scraping against my eardrums, taking out chunks. My throat was all blood and broken metal. The only sounds I could make were strangled gargles, oil and bile bubbling over my lips. I am, a broken, twisted ruin without my song. I need my song to pump my lungs and squeeze my heart. At least, I think I have a heart and lungs. It all feels cold now. Tick, tick, tick goes the chirping thing that was never there, and never could have sung that beautiful song to my heart. Well, that was an interesting one. Kind of hard to wrap my head around, really. Maybe a woods creature? It tends to manifest in birds and can be a little maddening, but I just don't know. I'll try to go back there soon. Maybe ask around about the owner and her late husband, it seems. End notes. Personal log. Just what the hell was that? I'm not going back there. Not soon, anyway. My contacts with law enforcement are taking ages to get me clearance with the dead body found by the lake, but at least I can confirm it's not Miss Mullins. Upon further searching, she's apparently buried in the cemetery in the next town over. Caused quite a scandal, really. Her will wanted her cremated, but there was complications with, quote, all of the metal. Anyway, the body, all I know is it's unidentified and full of holes. Might as well go stomping through the woods for a crime scene, even if it's been ruined by animals at this point. I don't know what that story was about. Weird birds that might exist in singing cages are not my expertise. If I were back home, I'd send my dear brother after this one. A maddening cage might do him some good. I'm I'm going to go to bed. End log. Whale Fall, Gone and Forgotten, Episode 4, The Birdcage, was written, edited, and produced by Cat Duncan. That's me. Hello. I play Ophelia Colt as well. Big shocker. Pulling a Harlan Guthrie on this one. No, people are gonna help eventually. I'm a broke college student who is in the last year of their BFA. So, I want to pay people fairly, but I don't have money. Anyway, this one was really fun. So far this one was the most fun to write. I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. I've got a lot of things planned, like literally so many things planned. I kid you not, I do in fact have I kind of have a red string board going, alright? Don't tell anyone. It's embarrassing. It's also looking at me because it's in my recording closet. Anyway, have a good day. I love you. Bye.